Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today I am starting a brand new project that I have decided to call Build Newcrest Community Lots Edition. So basically, if you're not aware, back in the summer of 2015, the Sims 4 team patched in a brand new world to everyone who has the Sims 4 base game called Newcrest, and it was a completely empty world, and so the idea was that way then we would have more lots to be able to build, because one of the original complaints about The Sims 4 was that the original worlds were very small and didn't have very many empty lots, and so people were, wanting more space to be able to build. So they gave us Newcrest, and so since that time there have been a lot of people where they will add on to Newcrest and build to their heart's content, and I am finally joining their ranks. So obviously I have been building some in Newcrest all along, but I've never actually filled it up completely with my own lots that I've built. Or really anyone's lots for that matter. I don't know, I've never, if I have a specific need, like for example, we don't really have any restaurants that are automatically placed each time you create a new save file. So if I have a sim and they want to go out to eat somewhere, I tend to plop down a restaurant here in Newcrest, and that's that. So this project is I'm going to fill up all of Newcrest with each one of the different types of community lots that we currently have available in the game. So there are 15 empty lots in Newcrest, and there are 16 lot types, not counting generic, which honestly, what is generic even used for? I'm not even sure that Sims spawn if you go to a generic lot, but in any case, so it works out pretty well that there's almost the exact same amount of lots and the same amount of current lot types, so it works well. So what I've done is I took a map of Newcrest and I placed each of the different lot types so that there's only going to be one of them in Newcrest. So for example, this is the museum. So the neighborhood that the museum is in also has the pool, the park, the arts center, and the library. And then there's another neighborhood that has the spa, the gym, a retail lot, also known as a store, a cafe, and a vet clinic. And then the third and final neighborhood has the karaoke bar, the lounge, the restaurant, the bar, and the nightclub. So this current neighborhood is basically like government-funded buildings, typically museums, pools, libraries, parks, and art centers, or community centers, are places that would have like government funding backing them, there are private museums and private pools and all of that, but generally speaking, they all sort of fit the same category. And then in the second neighborhood, all of those lots are daytime friendly, but they're commercial lots. So they're privately owned, but they're also places that you would go to more in the daytime. Like typically, and again, there's no hard and fast rule, but for the most part, you're not going to go to the gym for a good time at 11 o'clock on a Friday night. So that's the kind of the overall theme for that neighborhood. And then the final neighborhood is obviously commercial lots that are more of like a nightlife type of feel. I know the restaurant, splitting up the restaurant and the cafe, because cafes and restaurants in my mind are very similar. But cafes in the game are more of like a coffee shop, and restaurants, you could make them fit more into like a nightlife type of vibe. So this is the, what did I end up calling this? I think I just called this the Newcrest Art Museum. Usually this was funny because normally I name my lots before I even start building them. Like I have like this clear, like this is what this is gonna be, and that's that. I did not have that this time. If you look at the top, it's still whatever the original lot name is, which does bring me to another point. Obviously, I've placed them in these specific lots, and you know, that's probably where they would fit the best. But obviously, if you don't want to place them there, you don't have to. But yeah, so anyways, so I could not come up with a name for this place. It took me so long, and even then, all I could come up with was Newcrest Art Museum, like, snooze. But, you know, it serves a purpose. It's very clear. There's no questioning what this building is or where it's located at, so I figured that's okay. So this is kind of a more modern or contemporary styled art museum. It is kind of funny that I'm starting this with the art museum lot, because in one of my recent videos, and I can't remember off the top of my head now which one it was, but in one of my recent videos I was complaining because in The Sims 4 I don't know that museums necessarily serve much of a purpose, but I went ahead and I started off with the museum anyway. I mean, I do enjoy museums, which I have also said before, but they, to me, don't really have a great role in the gameplay of The Sims 4. Oh, one more thing I did want to mention. When it comes to the different lot types, there are technically 16 lot types available currently in the game. But the one lot type is a national park, which was the park specifically created for Granite Falls from the Outdoor Retreat game pack, like, you know, ages ago. I decided to skip doing the national park because, for one thing, I didn't have the space for it, and because it covers a lot of the same purposes as a regular park would. It's just that it has less required elements. So, like, obviously in Granite Falls, they wanted a park that didn't have to have, like, whatever it is, like the monkey bars or, like, you know, the kids' playground stuff and all of that. And that's fine. So, for a regular neighborhood, it's perfectly fine for them to have just the one park. I thought so anyways. So that's why I'm skipping the national park, but all the others are going to be there. Another thing is that because there are 15 lots, even if I do one a week, this is going to take quite a while for me to get through all of them. And in the meantime, if more lots come out, I probably won't be adding them. Like, you know, say we get a magical game pack drops in our lap at some point in the future, which, I mean, it will at some point, but I don't know what it would be. But say that there's another lot type that shows up in that game pack. Depending on what it is and how far along into this I'm, you know, progressing, I may or may not add it in. There's no promises, but, you know, you never know. So anyways, so back to our lovely art museum. So like I said before, this is a more contemporary or like modern styled building. I'm really trying to get better at doing modern builds, and you know, the only way to get better at something is to just keep doing it, just keep plugging away at it. I also thought that for an art museums, I don't know, sometimes they're very like old-fashioned and kind of stuffy feeling, but more often than not, I feel like art museums have kind of a more modern or contemporary vibe to them, or like there's some sort of like experimental architectural feature in them, which, I mean, I didn't get too wild and crazy on this. There are some unique things to it, like I did put in the pool. It's blocked off by fences, so no one can go swimming, but I did put in a pool outside, and there's like some fun fountains and things. But generally, I felt like, you know, this could be a more modern type of a build, and that would still be just fine. So inside, I've kind of divided it up. The first floor is in 3 main rooms. The first room that you'll come into is kind of like the entryway grand hall type of area. So there's like a check-in counter where, you know, in The Sims, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose, but for the sake of storytelling, it would make sense that there would be, you know, a place to pay an admission fee, pick up a map, that sort of thing. And then, you know, like any good museum or tourist attraction, there is a gift shop right by the entrance, because I don't know that I've ever been to a museum that didn't have a gift shop right inside the front door. And I kind of went with a jungle theme, which I didn't really intend to do that. It's just this first room. Each of the rooms has a different theme, and it kind of matches the type of art that is on display in that room. So for this first room, I really did not intend to start off doing like a jungle theme at all, but I really love those tiles from the Jungle Adventure game pack, and I just sort of ran with it. So, I mean, it's not like super jungly. I mean, I did build a small jungle under the stairs, but other than that, it's not super jungly. So this was also interesting. So I really wanted the check-in counter to face the way that it's currently facing. However, when I went to place the computer on the counter, it would only let me face it towards the guest checking in, not the employee in the background. And so I decided to try this, and it actually really worked well. I got 2 desks and I placed the computers on the desks, and then using the Move Objects cheat, I raised the desk so that the desk was at the same height as the counter, because for some reason it wasn't, which is a little odd that you can access computers on counters and you can access them on desks, but they're at different heights. I couldn't quite figure that out. But, so anyway, so then I just slid it into place, and so it looks like the computers are sitting there on the counters, but they're not. They're actually sitting on the desks that I hid underneath, which I thought was pretty crafty. I did realize later on, at some point, I don't know what I had done, but the computers deleted themselves. So I did go back in and put them back. So that might be something you need to kind of keep an eye on if you decide to download this lot and put it in your game. Another thing that I did, which you saw just a minute ago, was in every museum, or at least every art museum in particular that I've ever been to, there's always a security officer sitting inside of each doorway. Just to make sure that, you know, no one has any sticky fingers or has actual sticky fingers and is about to destroy the precious artwork in the room. And usually they are sitting on like these they're either standing and walking around, or they're sitting on like really uncomfortable stools. Sometimes I've also seen it where it's like a docent that's there as well. So each room has at least one little stool right inside of the entrance for either a security guard or a docent, or, you know, a sim if they want to. So now I'm putting in the gift shop area in the lobby, which I sort of forgot how freaking huge the cashier counters are. Like, I wish, and I know it will probably never happen because the Get to Work expansion pack came out like, oh wow, it's been like 3 years this month, right? Yeah, it was March of 2015 when it came out. So yeah, the chances of anything else being added in for that pack are basically none. But I really wish that we had like single tile checkout counters, especially since they don't actually use the checkout counters. Like, when you're buying something at a retail store in the game, the employee just has like a little tablet in their hands, which is sort of funny because like that's not something you actually see really in stores. Like, I remember a few years ago, that was all the thing. Like, oh yeah, we'll do like this portable checkout thing. In fact, I actually worked at a store that was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get rid of all of our cash registers. And it was a department store. And so, lo and behold, all these old people, because that's basically myself and old people are the only people I know of who shop still at department stores. And all these old people got really upset about it. And like, I mean, I don't blame them. For one thing, it was kind of an inconvenience as the cashier, because then you just had to like carry around plastic bags, and it was a dumb idea. But in any case, it's sort of funny because that pack did not come out all that long ago, and yet that aspect of it is already kind of dated. Like, so what's it going to be like in another 10 years? I mean, like, I know that there's always some like technology thing that's going to be a little bit different, and like, I don't know, but or that's like the curved TV that was in City Living. That was a trend. I mean, like, for a very brief moment in time, and now I don't know of any person who's like, yeah, I want a curved TV. But a couple of years ago, that was like the new TV thing. So I don't know. It's always sort of fun to think about, like, as technology changes, like, you know, what ages well and what doesn't age well. But so anyways, back to our friend the build. I'm now filling in the area under the stairs. I always feel like with these stairs that have the open backs, like, you really have to put something underneath there, because otherwise, I don't know, it just looks like a big ugly waste of space. And since I was kind of already going for like a jungly Latin sort of Japanese in some parts vibe, I also was like, all right, we'll just put some plants in, add some color, because I was also thinking that the entrance room, because there weren't really pieces of artwork, I mean, aside from the stuff that was for sale in the shop area, there weren't really, like, I don't know, pretty things to look at necessarily. So I thought that that would be kind of nice. Plus, I don't know, it gives a little pop of color here and there. I do think after I was done building everything, I put a lot of greenery in this first room, and like as the rooms progress, I sort of stopped doing that. And then here I am putting the computers back into their spots again. And then I was like, oh, we have these cool exit signs. That would also be very useful. Like, public buildings always have, like, this is how you get out. So the next room that I'm going to be doing is kind of the, like, older styled, more traditional and classical looking pieces of art. So basically, I went through the catalog and started at the bottom and worked my way up and found the biggest, most expensive pieces of artwork that you can possibly get in the game. I think for the lot requirements, you're supposed to have 10 wall decorations and 5 statues or something like that. We hit that very easily. So I went through. I also, because I wanted to do this room in kind of like a white and gray color scheme, I wanted to make it seem like it was very understated. Not so, I mean, like, it is neutral, but like not super plain and boring either. I mean, like, that wallpaper has like a very intricate, detailed pattern on it. So like, I figured we could get away with doing something like a lot of white and a lot of gray. I also then put in pretty little rope barricades in front of the paintings that were the most expensive, and also in front of the not coat of armor. What's that called? Oh my gosh, why can I don't remember. All I can think of is that it's also the same object that's used when you're using the pose thing in the game. I mean, it's a mod, but you know. Okay, so I have kind of jumped ahead a little bit to the outside portion. I really wanted to do a coffee shop, because a lot of times museums have like a little coffee shop where you can get something warm to drink and a pastry. And so before I started recording, I just tested it out to see if it would work. So if you put in the coffee shop thing that was actually supposed to be in a cafe, if you put that on a museum lot, it sort of works. Like, you have to hire the barista yourself, so you have to pay hundreds of millions of your own Sims money, which isn't great. The problem that I had was that after I did that, I wasn't able to actually buy anything from the barista who showed up. So I don't know if it was just I had an incompetent barista or what. So I decided to use the freezer thing from the Get to Work expansion pack, where you can just like grab a sandwich or pastry out of it. And I realized that requires, to have all of the options available for food on that, you also have to have a regular refrigerator and a microwave. So it's there. And again, I sort of set it up with a little counter thing, like there would be a sim working the cash register there. But of course, it doesn't really work. It's mostly just for decoration. But hey, your Sims can actually get food there. So that to me is the most important part. So this last room on the first floor, I really struggled with what I wanted to do here. Originally, I was just trying to find things that were green. I don't know. I was a little lost at first as to what I wanted this room to be. And eventually I decided that this was going to be the, how do I explain this? Sort of like the Walden/Thoreau themed room, where every painting is like of nature or flowers or just a lot of greenery. I do, as I decorate it, you'll see more of that kind of come to life a little bit more. I use the wallpaper that came with, I think it's Parenthood, where it's like trees. Which, yeah, so there it is. I love this wallpaper. I think it's striking and beautiful. I wish it came in more colors. Like, just having it in black and white, I was like, I really wish I could have done it in, like, more of, like, a sepia tone pattern. Like, actual trees, you know, brown. Just a crazy idea I had. But, I mean, for what it is, I think it's really beautiful. And then the floor is, like, wood chippings or something. I don't know. I think that might have been included in one of the recent patches. I also put into that room bamboo wind chimes. Another thing that I put in, that I did off camera, was I put in a venue wall speaker in each of the main, like, art rooms. And so each room has a type of music playing that suits that room. So, like, the classical room is playing Baroque music. What else? Oh, that outdoorsy sort of themed room is playing, I think it's like the spa music that's like real zen and calming. And then I'm trying to think what I did upstairs. I can't remember what I put in upstairs, but so one of the other lot requirements for the museum is to have at least one easel. So I was like, all right, we'll just make a little, you know, artist in residence type of art studio here, kind of off to the side a little bit. So I put in, you know, like the highest quality art easels, and I believe all of those like decorative painting things are things that you can unlock from doing the painting career in game. So they all have like the inspired moodlet that comes with it. And then I just, you know, threw down your standard, like, drop cloth for paint and the paint buckets and all that. So this last room up here is the modern room. And this was another room that I'm very happy with how it turns out in the end, but I sort of didn't really know where to go with it. Honestly, by this point in the build, like, I did cut out parts of it, but by this point in the build, I had been building for almost 3 hours, and I was starting to get a little tired. So, I obviously wanted to try to do more artwork that was, like, brightly colored. A lot of the paintings and the wall hangings don't have frames on them, or if they do, they're very, like, minimal and not very noticeable. By this point, I had met all of the lot requirements, so I sort of had a little bit of freedom, which was great, but at the same time, it was almost a little overwhelming, because it was like, oh, I don't have to put in so many sculptures and so many paintings, because I already have all of them. So that was a little, I don't know, a little bit different. But yeah, so in the end, it does turn out really, really nice, I think, but it took me a little while to try to figure out what I really wanted this room to be. So yeah, trying to think what else. Oh, so this is important. So at the very beginning of this video, you know, I had the map up where it showed where each of the lots is going to go in Newcrest. So at the end of this video, after all the screenshots, I'm going to put up a poll where you can vote and say what lot you want me to work on next. So I'm hoping that maybe sometime in the next week that'll be up. So make sure as soon as you watch this video that you go vote. So I'm trying to stay in the same neighborhood. So the choices are going to be to do the pool, the park, the arts center, or the library. And you know, whenever I'm ready to build, whatever lot has the most votes is going to be the one that I went with. So yeah, so this is the Newcrest Art Museum. I'm really excited about this lot. I don't think I've ever made an art museum from scratch. I think I've only ever had to remodel an existing art museum in game, and it was usually for something like throwing a wedding. So yeah, I've enjoyed doing this. It was something that was a little bit different, which is sort of the whole point of doing this project in the first place, was that it's going to push me into doing more community lots, which I really enjoy building, but I tend to build the same kinds over and over and over. So this time I have to do everything. So if you would like this lot in your game, You can find it on the Sims 4 gallery under the username Mrs. Tomato 1018 or under the hashtag Mrs. Tomato 1018, or you can find it in the link below this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this or more of this project, please subscribe to my channel. I put out a new video every single day, Monday through Friday, so there's lots to watch. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!